He didn't look nervous. He looked untouchable. Kash Patel walked into that hearing room like it was just another box to check. Tailored suit, measured stride, and a smirk that said, "This won't take long." But it only took one sentence. One line read out loud by a woman who didn't raise her voice, didn't need to. And just like that, the illusion shattered. In front of cameras, in front of Congress, in front of the country. A man once trusted with national secrets now couldn't explain a single email. What happened next wasn't a debate. It was a collapse. And no one saw it coming. He walked into the hearing room like he owned the place. His steps were unhurried, almost theatrical. Cameras clicked softly as he passed, catching every polished detail. The dark navy suit, the slightly too bold red tie, the practiced smirk that curled at the edge of his mouth. Kash Patel had done this before. Too many times, some would argue. He wasn't just confident, he was untouchable. Or so he thought. Across the chamber, Representative Jasmine Crockett sat in silence. She wasn't posturing, she wasn't seeking the spotlight. Her gaze was steady, her movements economical. In front of her sat a slim legal pad, color-coded tabs peeking out like bookmarks to buried truths. She hadn't looked at Patel once. Not yet. She didn't need to. Reporters leaned forward behind velvet ropes. Some whispered into their mics. Others just watched, waiting. The energy in room 2141 was thick. Not loud, not chaotic, just dense, like static right before a lightning strike. Chairman DuPont tapped the mic once, and the room settled. The hearing began like dozens before it. Procedural, predictable. Or at least that's what everyone believed. But then came one line, one sentence, read softly into the record. "I'm entering this into evidence." 7 words. And just like that, the performance cracked. Patel blinked. His lawyer shifted. The room, once static, now felt electric. On that paper, a date. March 13th, a private email from Patel. To a man he had sworn he never contacted. The illusion shattered in seconds, and the hearing, the one no one saw coming, had truly begun. It was a gray Wednesday in D.C. Rain tapped against the Rayburn building windows. Inside room 2141, staffers prepped like it was any other morning. The kind of morning that felt predictable, repeatable, until it wasn't. Velvet ropes kept reporters in their place. Cameras from C-SPAN, MSNBC, Fox, and 6 digital newsrooms blinked red. Producers whispered into headsets. Microphones stood ready like soldiers waiting for war. Inside, staffers moved with brisk discipline. Cups of coffee, stack of papers, nods exchanged in passing. This wasn't their first hearing. But something about today buzzed just beneath the routine. Chairman DuPont reviewed his notes. His gavel rested lightly on the polished wood. To his left, aides checked timestamps on evidence binders. At the witness table, Kash Patel looked untouched by the chaos. His suit was crisp, his demeanor loose. He joked with his lawyer. His nameplate gleamed beneath the LED lights. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't worried. He was waiting for the day to end. But across the room, Representative Jasmine Crockett had already begun. She arrived quietly. No press scrum, no posturing, just purpose. A slim legal pad in her hand. Tabs marked in color. Not chaos. Precision. Behind her, Brenda Moreno. Short frame, dark green suit, eyes sharp. She leaned in just once and whispered, "He's too comfortable. Let him stay there." Jasmine nodded. Not because she agreed, but because she already knew. Because while everyone else waited for fireworks, she had already lit the fuse. It was a gray, sleepy Wednesday in Washington, D.C. Rain tapped against the windows of the Rayburn House office building, steady and quiet, like background noise in a courtroom drama. Room 2141 looked just like it always did. Rows of mahogany desks, green carpeting, microphones blinking red. Routine, predictable, forgettable. Until it wasn't. Staffers moved quickly, but with the precision of habit. Coffee in one hand, folders in the other. Assistants whispered updates, adjusting ties and checking phones for last-minute agenda changes. Outside the doors, a dozen reporters waited behind velvet ropes, some testing audio, others trading predictions. No one expected much. Just another oversight hearing. Just another Tuesday in disguise. Inside, the committee members trickled in. Some looked tired, some looked bored. A few looked ready to get through this and make their lunch reservations on time. And then there was Kash Patel. He didn't just enter, he arrived. Sharp suit, confident smile. That familiar posture of someone who's been in too many rooms where the rules never quite applied to him. He took his seat at the witness table like it was a comfortable chair in his living room. He leaned back, loosened his shoulders, shared a quiet joke with his attorney. Nothing about him said, under pressure. His eyes scanned the chamber like he was already 5 steps ahead. He was calm, relaxed, too relaxed. Across the room, Representative Jasmine Crockett entered quietly. No entourage, no press following her in, just purpose. She held a slim legal pad, its pages filled with handwritten notes, color-coded tabs, and cross-referenced documents. Her eyes didn't drift toward the cameras. They didn't even glance at Patel. They locked on his lawyer. Behind her followed Brenda Moreno, short and sharp, dressed in a deep green suit that blended into the background, except for her stare. She didn't take her eyes off Patel's side of the room. She leaned in and whispered just one sentence. "He looks too comfortable." Jasmine nodded. Not as agreement, as confirmation. She already knew. The chairs filled in. The tension didn't build with volume. It built with silence. The kind you only notice when you're listening for it. Chairman DuPont called the hearing to order at exactly 9:00 a.m. He tapped the mic once. The room settled. Patel sat tall. His nameplate gleamed. His lawyer adjusted a pen. But Jasmine hadn't moved. She simply opened her folder. She turned to the first tab. And waited. The show was about to begin. Only this time, Patel wasn't going to be the one holding the script. Patel sat up straight, hands folded neatly on the table. His face was calm, composed, eyes scanning the room like he was waiting for his cue on stage. Jasmine was different. She didn't look at him. She was flipping through a folder with color-coded tabs. She paused on a blue one. Behind her, Brenda, her aide, leaned forward just slightly. She knew what was coming. They'd been preparing for this moment for weeks. Chairman DuPont gave a small nod. "Representative Crockett, the floor is yours." Jasmine didn't thank him. She didn't clear her throat or smile for the cameras. She just adjusted her mic. "Mr. Patel," she began, steady and direct, "in your last testimony before this committee, you stated that you had no written communication with Mr. Devlin regarding the March 14th intelligence briefing. Is that still accurate?" Patel nodded without hesitation. "That's correct." Jasmine looked down, flipped one page, pulled out a single sheet of paper, black and white, no markings, no highlights. "Then I'd like to enter into the record this email," she said calmly. "Dated March 13th, from your personal email account. Sent to Mr. Devlin's private address. It outlines in detail the exact agenda for the March 14th briefing." The shift in the room was immediate. Patel furrowed his brow. "That can't be right. That email must be fake. Or someone else wrote it." Jasmine didn't flinch. She began reading aloud. Sender, timestamp, recipients, signature block. Every word landed. She placed the document face up in front of her. Brenda handed her a second sheet. "We also have 3 additional emails from the same address," Jasmine continued. "Same format, same font, same digital signature. Would you like them read into the record as well?" Patel glanced at his attorney. No response. He turned back. "I don't recall sending that." Jasmine finally looked up. "Good thing we don't rely on memory alone." That line hit hard. The entire room felt it. The air thickened. The control Patel walked in with was slipping. He leaned forward, voice lower now. "There's context here. Things aren't always what they seem." "Then provide it," Jasmine replied, still calm. A pause. Patel offered weakly, "Maybe someone on my team drafted it. Maybe it was sent from my account without my knowledge. It happens." Jasmine opened a new folder. "We pulled the metadata. The document originated from your personal laptop, the same device used to access the committee's portal the night before." One of the reporters whispered, "He's done." Patel scratched his neck. The pressure was building. His lawyer gently tapped his forearm, a silent warning. Stop. But it was already too late. The illusion of confidence was gone. And everyone in that room knew this wasn't going to be routine anymore. It should have ended there. An exposed email, a broken claim, a moment of stammering. But Jasmine didn't stop. She didn't even slow down. "Mr. Patel," she said, flipping another page, "you claimed earlier that this memo was either fabricated or mistakenly attributed to you. Is that correct?" Patel nodded again, slower this time. "That's my understanding." Brenda, already ahead of the curve, slid a new document across the desk. Jasmine picked it up and raised it just slightly. Not for the cameras, but for Patel's lawyer. "This," she said evenly, "is a screenshot of your encrypted text exchange with Mr. Devlin, sent less than 24 hours after that email." She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She read it aloud. "Memo's locked, clean and off the radar, just like we said." No one moved. Patel blinked once, then smiled, not kindly but defensively. "You're seriously bringing screenshots now?" he asked, scoffing. Jasmine didn't blink. "Do you dispute the content?" He opened his mouth, then shut it again. His lawyer, for the first time, leaned forward, whispering something close to his ear. A warning. A shield. Maybe both. "They were private exchanges," Patel said carefully. "Not official communications." "They discussed a classified federal briefing," Jasmine replied. "That makes them official whether you typed them from a burner phone or wrote them on a napkin." The audience behind the media line stirred. Chairman DuPont adjusted his glasses but didn't interrupt. Jasmine kept going. "In fact," she continued, "you referred to avoiding trackable metadata in multiple lines. Would you like to explain what that means?" Patel shook his head, chuckling under his breath. "This is political theater." "You're calling your own words political theater?" "I'm saying you're twisting informal messages to build a narrative." "And what narrative is that?" "That I'm guilty of something I didn't do." Jasmine set her folder down. "No," she said calmly. "That you knew exactly what you were doing and counted on no one ever checking." It hit like a subtle jab. Not a knockout punch, but enough to rattle. And it worked. Patel looked toward the chairman, then toward the cameras, then back to Jasmine. He clenched the edge of the table. Then, in one movement, he reached for his lapel mic. "Excuse me," he said. He stood. The lawyer's hand shot out. Too late. "Mr. Patel," DuPont called out, "you are not dismissed." "I won't be part of this," Patel snapped. "You are under oath," DuPont warned. "Leaving this hearing prematurely is a violation." But Patel was already walking. Coat in one hand, eyes down. He didn't storm out. He slipped. like a man who'd realized the ground beneath him wasn't as solid as he thought. The door shut behind him with a dull click. Inside the chamber, silence. Real silence. No whispers, no keyboard taps, just a stillness that felt radioactive. And then? Jasmine flipped open a second folder. She didn't look surprised. She didn't look triumphant. She looked ready. Because that wasn't the ending. It was the beginning of a second act, the one no one planned for. Outside the building, Twitter exploded. Kash Patel walks. Kash Crockett receipts. Live under oath clips were posted within minutes. Side-by-side images of Patel walking out and Jasmine calmly flipping the next document. Cable news broke into live feeds. MSNBC cut mid-interview. Fox slowed its scroll bar. Even TikTok picked it up. Teenagers watching C-SPAN and reacting with, "Yo, she cooked this man with receipts." In a Starbucks in Seattle, 2 students watched the walkout in real time. In a bar in Chicago, a staffer muted the TV and said, "This just went nuclear." But back inside? Jasmine was still seated. Brenda leaned in. "He walked," she whispered. Jasmine nodded. "He cracked early." The chamber remained still as Chairman DuPont called for a brief recess to regroup. But Jasmine didn't need a recess. She needed 5 more minutes. Because in the folder in front of her was something even Patel didn't know had surfaced. And once it hit the record, this wasn't going to be a scandal. It was going to be a blueprint for how the powerful tried to hide, and failed. 15 minutes passed. The committee recessed. Some members stepped out to take calls. Others whispered across the chamber, still trying to process what had just happened. But Jasmine never left her seat. She didn't need air. She didn't need space. She needed to turn the page. Literally. Brenda slid the next folder over without a word. 4 pages. That's all it was. But every line screamed, "Cover up." Jasmine skimmed them once. Twice. She didn't blink. Then she looked up and said, quietly but clearly, "Call it back into session." The microphones went live again. The cameras adjusted. Patel's seat? Still empty. Chairman DuPont looked at Jasmine. "You have more?" She nodded. "We do." The screen behind her flickered on. This document was not part of the original discovery. It was delivered anonymously 2 nights ago. It's been authenticated by 2 independent cybersecurity analysts and reviewed by House legal staff. She clicked once. On the screen appeared an internal memo, dated 2 days after the one Patel denied existed. Subject line, "Deconfliction Plan. Avoid traceable channels." It wasn't speculation. It was a guide. Jasmine read, "Use encrypted platforms only. No official calendar entries. Burn notes after 72 hours. Redirect sensitive comms through proxy chains." The room froze again. But it wasn't Patel's name that caught everyone's attention. It was the CC line. 5 names, 3 redacted, 2 still visible. One of them, R. Devlin. Brenda didn't flinch. She clicked to the next slide. A chain of emails from Devlin's private server. Coordinated responses. Draft language for testimony. It wasn't just Patel. He was just the face. The shield. The fall guy. And someone had built the scaffolding behind him. Someone who knew how to stay off the radar. Until now. Jasmine took a deep breath and continued. "This isn't just about inconsistent testimony," she said. "It's about deliberate evasion. Structured, repeated, and coordinated. This is a pattern. A protocol." One committee member whispered something to another. Phones started buzzing again. Outside, the news ticker on CNN read, "Breaking. New docs link Patel to multi-agent cover plan. Congresswoman says pattern of evasion emerging." Inside, Jasmine remained steady. There are 5 confirmed participants in this off-record channel. 1 has testified. The others will be called. She paused, then added, almost as an afterthought, unless they come forward voluntarily. Chairman DuPont leaned into his mic. Representative Crockett, are you suggesting these communications were part of an organized attempt to deceive this committee? Jasmine didn't answer immediately. She turned to the screen behind her, highlighted a single reply from Devlin to Patel, delete your copy, mine's already clean. Then she turned back to the chairman. I'm suggesting it speaks for itself. No one spoke for a full beat, and then the room erupted. Not in shouting, but in noise. The kind that happens when the veil drops, when people realize it's bigger than they thought. A scandal? No, a system. Patel didn't just bend the truth. He followed a script, and someone else wrote it. In a townhouse 3 blocks from the Capitol, Rob Devlin sat alone. He hadn't spoken to Patel in weeks, not directly, but he'd seen the headlines. He knew the documents were real, and he knew exactly how dangerous the trail had become. On his desk was a burner phone. It buzzed once. No number, just a message. Tomorrow, she knows. He didn't reply. He didn't need to, because when you've built a maze for long enough, you know exactly which wall they'll hit next. Back at the hearing, Jasmine flipped the folder closed. We were never supposed to see these, she said quietly, but we did. And now, the real question wasn't who lied. It was who else had everything to lose, and what they'd be willing to do to keep it hidden. After Patel walked out of the hearing, the room sat in stunned silence. The cameras were still rolling, but the energy had shifted. What had started as a hearing was turning into something else, something systemic. Jasmine Crockett didn't move. She just stared at the next folder in front of her. Brenda quietly slid it into place, like setting the next piece on a chessboard. We've got a bigger problem, Jasmine said under her breath. Brenda nodded. I rechecked the server logs. There's another player in the system, someone internal, someone trying to keep things buried. Jasmine opened the folder and began flipping through the pages. Each one added weight to the moment, until she stopped on an email titled, Plan B, Stay Quiet. She looked up. Who sent it? Brenda hesitated. Devlin. But he CC'd it to an encrypted alias. I traced it. It's linked to a congressional address. Jasmine narrowed her eyes. Whose? Brenda handed her a printed trace report. Jasmine scanned the top line. Senator Harold Green. She froze. That can't be right. He's the one who pushed for this investigation in the first place. Exactly, Brenda said. He's been playing both sides. Later, in her office, Jasmine sat in silence in front of her screen. She reviewed the messages again, slower this time. Every phrase seemed laced with manipulation. Every request for delay, every objection Green had raised in committee now looked different, tactical, calculated. He hadn't been steering the investigation, he'd been shielding it, and everyone else thought he was the hero. She remembered the closed-door meetings, the advice to steer away from certain subpoenas, the sudden shift in priorities mid-week. It hadn't felt strange then. But now it looked like strategy. Jasmine clenched her fists. This wasn't just about Patel anymore. It wasn't just Devlin. This was a network, a machinery of avoidance built inside the very committee tasked with exposing it. And Green was at the heart. The next morning, Jasmine called a private meeting with the most trusted members of the committee. No media, no leaks, just a room, a folder, and a fire burning in her voice. She laid out the connection, the memo, the alias, the server trail. One of the members leaned back, crossing his arms. Green's too powerful to go after without consequences. Jasmine didn't blink. We didn't take this oath to avoid consequences. We took it to uphold the truth. Another member nodded, then another, then all of them. The room shifted. What started as a scandal was becoming a reckoning. While the committee built its next move, things outside were unraveling fast. News broke that Patel had not returned to the building. His lawyer released a vague statement about procedural disagreements, but no one bought it. Meanwhile, a new leak hit the press. Green's encrypted communications. They weren't just incriminating, they were strategic. Emails showed him redirecting the investigation's focus, suggesting substitutions in testimony order, quietly flagging uncooperative staffers. The narrative flipped overnight. The man who launched the inquiry was now its prime suspect. Back at the Capitol, Jasmine received another anonymous envelope. One sheet, black font. There are two more. No names, no clues, just a statement. Brenda looked over her shoulder. They're not done covering their tracks. No, Jasmine said. They're choosing who burns. Because once Green fell, someone else had to take the heat. That's how systems protect themselves, by sacrificing pieces that get too loud. But this time, the story had momentum, and someone inside was still feeding it. At that same moment, across town, Rob Devlin was watching from a small apartment he hadn't used in over a year. The blinds were drawn. His phone was off. A second device, a burner, buzzed softly on the table. She knows about Green. He didn't reply. He just stared at the wall, because Green was supposed to hold. He was the firewall, and now he'd cracked. That meant Devlin was next, unless he flipped first. Jasmine stood alone in the hallway outside the hearing chamber. The noise inside was muffled, like the quiet before a storm. She didn't feel victorious. She felt cornered, but not afraid, because now the question wasn't how deep the corruption ran. It was how many people still thought they were safe. The room was full again. Patel's seat? Still empty. But his name was everywhere. On the screen, in the folders, whispered across committee tables, plastered across media headlines. Jasmine Crockett stood before the mic, one last document in her hand. No theatrics, just a quiet calm that came from knowing the truth had outrun the narrative. "We've verified the contents of this next recording," she said, tapping the folder lightly. "It came from an internal training session conducted via Zoom 9 months ago." She nodded at Brenda. The lights dimmed. The audio played. It was Patel. His voice clear and confident. "Don't write anything down. That's how people get dragged into hearings. Keep it clean. Use Signal. And if it ever comes back on you, deny." A pause, then another clip. "Never email anything you wouldn't want on the record. Use private lines. Use trusted intermediaries. Keep your calendar vague. The goal is to stay clean, not transparent." When the lights came back up, no one moved. Not for several seconds. Chairman DuPont cleared his throat but didn't speak. Because what could you say after hearing a blueprint for evasion, spoken like a daily routine? Jasmine set the folder down. "No further commentary," she said. "Let the record speak." Outside, the nation was already speaking for her. Clips of the audio flooded every platform. Headlines turned from scandal to system. TikTok was filled with side-by-side reactions. Patel's voice versus his denial. News anchors debated whether this would trigger full federal investigations, but in the midst of the noise, something else happened. Something quieter. Letters started arriving at Jasmine's district office. Emails from retired government workers, students, veterans, even people who said they never trusted Congress before. They didn't all praise her, but they all said the same thing. Thank you for looking closer. Back in D.C., Jasmine stood before a whiteboard filled with names, lines, connections. Green had gone silent. Devlin was missing. And the burner phone that sent those anonymous tips? Disconnected. Brenda turned to her. So, what now? Jasmine stared at the board for a long time, then circled a name no one had said out loud yet. We go deeper. Because this wasn't a hearing. It was a curtain being pulled back. This wasn't about one memo. It was about the machine that made sure it stayed hidden. And that machine? Still running. So here's the question we're left with. How many more hearings have gone just like this, but with fewer cameras? How many truths have been buried because no one had the time, power, or courage to dig? How many people, just like Patel, have smiled through testimony knowing they've already deleted the evidence? And how many people, just like Jasmine, have tried to hold that line one page at a time? We think of democracy as a structure, but sometimes it's just a room. One voice, one folder, one truth finally spoken out loud. So now we ask you, how many Patels are still out there? And who's watching the people who are supposed to be watching? Let us know what you think in the comments. Because stories like this don't end with a vote. They end when people stop paying attention, and we're not done watching. Not yet.